The sky over the small town of Ravenbrook was the kind that carried no promises, gray, heavy, and quietly pressing down on the streets below. Every morning felt the same to Ayan, a young man who had slowly grown used to the weight of life pressing against his chest. 2 years ago, he had been full of dreams, but life had a way of unraveling threads faster than he could mend them. His father's passing, his mother's illness, and the financial strain that followed had drained the color from their world. Still, every day he rose before dawn, walked to the old bus station with its peeling paint and rusty metal benches, and took the bus to work at the steel workshop. It wasn't a job he loved, nor one that offered much hope, but it kept the electricity running at home and the medicine cabinet stocked. Hope, he thought, was a luxury for people who weren't counting coins every night. That morning, like every other, he sat quietly at the back of the bus, watching raindrops slide down the window in lazy patterns. He kept his head lowered, as if avoiding the world would lessen its burden. The bus was nearly empty, save for a few familiar faces who, like him, wore exhaustion like an extra layer of clothing. But there was someone new today. A man, perhaps in his late 60s, with soft white hair and eyes that seemed out of place in the gloomy morning, bright, observant, and strangely warm. He looked around the bus like someone seeing it for the first time, taking in each detail with curiosity. Ayan quickly looked away when the man's gaze brushed past him. He wasn't in the mood for small talk, and even eye contact felt like too much effort. The bus jolted forward, and they began their slow journey through Ravenbrook's quiet streets. 5 minutes passed. 10. The same stops, the same faces. Ayan's routine was so predictable he could almost time the bumps in the road. But then the stranger walked down the aisle and sat beside him. Of all the empty seats available, the man chose the one next to Ayan. Ayan stiffened. Why here? Why him? He didn't look up, hoping the old man would get the hint. But the stranger simply sat there, hands folded neatly in his lap, looking calm and content, as though sitting beside someone unwilling to talk was the most natural thing in the world. After a minute, he spoke. You look tired, son. Ayan clenched his jaw. Just a long week, he muttered, keeping his eyes glued to the window. The man replied, not with judgment, but with a softness that surprised him. Long weeks often belong to people carrying heavy loads. Ayan swallowed, saying nothing. He didn't want to cry in a bus. Or talk. Or feel anything more than the numbness he had carefully built around himself. The stranger didn't push. He simply sat beside Ayan like someone who had all the time in the world, offering presents instead of demands. When the bus reached Ayan's stop, he stood up quickly. Excuse me, he murmured. The old man shifted aside with a gentle nod but called after him, Take care, son. Storms don't last forever. Ayan paused. For a moment, he nearly turned around. But instead, he nodded once and stepped off the bus. He brushed off the encounter as something insignificant. Just a stranger making conversation. Just a moment in a day like all the others. But it wasn't the last time he saw him. The next morning, the old man was there again, same seat, same gentle smile, same bright eyes. And once again, he walked over and sat beside Ayan. Morning, he greeted, as though this had become their routine. Ayan gave a stiff nod. Morning. You work at the steel workshop. Ayan looked up, startled. How do you know? You have steel dust on your shoes, the man chuckled. My older brother used to work there when we were young. Hard work. Honest work. Ayan didn't know how to respond, so he simply nodded again. The stranger continued, Do you like it? It's a job, Ayan said. And life? Do you like that? Ayan turned sharply. What kind of question was that? He opened his mouth, closed it, and finally said, I don't know. The man nodded thoughtfully, as though this were a perfectly reasonable answer. Most people don't, he said quietly. At least, not until something or someone gives them a reason to. Ayan felt something in his chest shift, like soil being disturbed after years of lying still. But he didn't want to open up to a stranger. Not when he barely had the strength to face his own thoughts. When he got off the bus again, the stranger gave him that warm nod, the kind that felt like a small blessing without any words attached. On the third morning, rain came down harder than usual, and the bus was late. Ayan boarded soaked and irritable. The world felt unfair. Heavy. Cruel. Yet there the old man was again, offering him the same seat beside him like it was reserved. Ayan sat down without a word, dripping water onto the floor. "You look like someone who could use hot tea," the man said lightly. Ayan huffed a humorless laugh. "I can't afford luxuries like stopping for tea." The man didn't flinch. "Tea is not a luxury," he said gently. "It's a reminder that small comforts matter." Then he reached into a small cloth bag and pulled out a thermos. "Chamomile. Calms the mind. I don't need." "I know," the man said kindly. "But kindness offered is not always about need." Ayan didn't take it. But the gesture lingered. Every morning after that, the stranger spoke a little more, slowly chipping away at the walls Ayan had built around his heart. He told stories of his youth, his travels, his late wife whom he spoke of with a love so sincere it softened the air around him. He never pried into Ayan's life, he simply offered pieces of his own, like lanterns in a dark hallway. One morning, Ayan finally broke. His mother had taken a turn for the worse the night before. The doctor said the new treatment might help, but it was expensive. Too expensive. Ayan spent hours staring at their bills, feeling helpless, furious, and defeated. When he boarded the bus that morning, eyes red and shoulders heavy, the stranger immediately noticed. "You're hurting," he said softly. Ayan pressed his lips together but couldn't hold it in anymore. Tears he had swallowed for months pushed through. "My mother is sick," he whispered, voice cracking. "I can't afford what she needs. I'm trying, God knows I'm trying, but every time I take a step forward, life pushes me back." The stranger listened quietly, hands folded, eyes steady. "May I tell you something?" he asked. Ayan nodded. "When my wife was ill," the man began, "I spent all my savings, sold my car, worked every hour I could. I thought the world was taking everything from me. But she told me something before she passed. She said, love is never wasted, even when life seems unfair. Someone will return it when you need it most." Ayan wiped his eyes. "No one returns anything to me." The stranger smiled, a soft, patient smile. "Are you sure?" He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out an envelope. Ayan frowned. "What's that?" "Hope," the stranger said simply. Inside was money, more than Ayan had ever held in his hands at once. Enough to pay for the treatment. Enough to breathe again. Ayan stared at it in disbelief. No, I can't take this. I don't even know your name. Why would you do this?" The man placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Because someone once did it for me. And because storms don't last forever, son." Ayan's tears returned, unstoppable. "I can't repay you. I'm not asking you to." "Then why?" The stranger looked into his eyes with a warmth that felt almost divine. "Because one day, someone will sit beside you on a bus, carrying a weight they can't bear. And you will remember this moment. That will be the repayment." The bus came to a stop. The stranger stood, giving Ayan one final nod. "Take care, son." And he stepped off. The next day, the stranger wasn't there. Nor the day after. Nor the day after that. Ayan asked around. No one knew him. No one had seen him. It was as though the old man had appeared only long enough to lift Ayan from the darkness, and then vanished. Months later, after his mother recovered, after life became lighter, after the world slowly regained its color, Ayan often found himself sitting on that same bus seat, watching the door, hoping to see the stranger again. He never did. But every time he saw someone with tired eyes and a heavy heart, he remembered the words. Someone will return it when you need it most. And when he offered kindness, whether a warm meal, a helping hand, or simply a listening ear, he always felt as though the stranger was sitting beside him again, nodding in approval. Ayan realized something profound. Sometimes hope doesn't arrive loudly. Sometimes it sits beside you quietly on a bus, smiles kindly, and leaves you changed forever. And sometimes, the greatest kindness of all comes from the stranger who asks for nothing in return.